All right. How's everyone doing? Hopefully, you're getting your thing worked on, whatever that it may be. I actually just, so, some backstory. So, I have this radio show that I've been doing like going on 14 years now. I had a college station here in Orlando, Florida. And after the radio show, there's certain tasks and things that I do to help promote it, because we record the shows and we have them as podcasts and things of that nature for people who can't listen live, kind of like these. So, so I do a bunch of stuff. I get recording uploaded, all these things, and then I normally for the next day I save uh, doing the promotional stuff. So like emailing different radio promoters, emailing our mailing list of people who want to be contacted when the latest show is up, and also posting to social media. So because we take like little snippets of the tracks that we are playing and post them to social media while the show is going live, so people can kind of see and hear what we're playing and who we're playing. Cool. So I take those clips, combine them, and put them into like little highlight clips, and then blast those out the following day, which is today. And so I got a lot of stuff done. So pretty much all the email stuff, the posting to Twitter and Instagram is pretty much done. But my co-host, big shout out to my co-host, he hasn't been able to make it. And so, like I said, when we do like the live playlist during the show, my co-hosts will go and tag the artists in the Instagram posts, but now since he's not there, I'm doing that now, which adds some more time to the thing. So I got recreating the website, and I want to figure out, because I've learned so much more since the previous website. So I'm thinking can probably automate a bunch of stuff. So I've just been kind of like, thinking in the back of my brain how I'm going to automate certain things. So yeah, that's that. So all that to say, I'm a big fan of web components. Random segue, but we're going to make that work. All right. So I didn't click. There we go. All right. So let me share my screen here. I don't think I'm going to need any audio. So ready, this one, share screen. Okay, so for folks that may not know, I'm a big fan of web components. And one of the cool things about web components is that the style within the web component is encapsulated. So you can style your web components the way you want, and it won't leak out into the greater application, nor will the greater application influence the web component, unless you wanted to. So we'll talk about that. So out of the box, there's encapsulation, which is great. And so I've created this like demo to kind of show that. So, all right, let's see. So as you can see here in the styling, the H1, which is this, is set to green, right? Cool. So now let's answer the question. So this input box and this button, that's a web component that you can see in the HTML right here. So it's a goat group, goat hyphen group is the web component. All right, cool. And then we saw, so the H1 is outside of the web component. Cool. Now, we're not going to guess any of the groups because we all know the greatest group of all time is Outkast. So let's go ahead. Now, I made this demonstration, this demo for a talk I gave for Orlando devs like a while ago. And so I wanted to kind of showcase all the cool things with web components. And so one of them was the styling. Other things like sending in and sending out actions and stuff and things, but neither here nor there. Cool. So Outkast. So we're going to show the style encapsulation. So here we go. Outkast. Yep. All right. So, okay. Now you check this out here. This, let me inspect the element. This is also an H1, as you can see right there. But the cool thing is that it's in the web component and thus in the shadow DOM. And so there's no leaking in or out of the styles. So I set it to blue in my code here. Where is it? Right here. So I'm setting the style to blue. And then you notice it doesn't leak out to here, to the other one outside, which is cool. Now, I also have it to where if I click this, it will change the color to red. And then again, you will see that it doesn't leak out and affect this H1. And but yeah, so cool. So that's awesome. So out of the box, you don't have to worry about your styles of your web components being changed in the outer by the outer application that it's in. Great. Now, but what happens if you do want to change the styles, right? So previously, using things called like CSS custom properties or custom variables, and they're pretty awesome because you can just set like a variable. So let's say main color here to black in your actual web component. And then the component on the out, like the application on the outside, can go and change that variable to blue. And then that would, so since it's that variable, you're setting that variable, your web component uses that variable. And so it will change it to that, which is cool. And so basic usage, so they did right here. Did they have one where there is an actual web component? Not sure, but that's pretty much the basis of it. So you're able to custom properties. We'll see more examples because I have it in what I've been working on this past week or two. So I don't see anything with web components or custom elements. But the issue with using CSS variables is that I, as a person who makes the web component, I have to, I guess, have a variable for every property that the person using the web component could customize, and that can get super long like that. And then I know I will miss something. So, and that kind of like also like hinders what the user of your web component can customize. So you may not have thought of something as the developer of the web component, but the user may have wanted to change something that you didn't think of. And so it kind of goes back and forth. So, or you may just want, control over it. Like you can only do these things. So there's that. So there's CSS variables or CSS custom properties for that. But now let's say you wanted to just let the person do whatever they want to do with your web component or what have you, style it however they want. So now so that's what we were doing. So for context, I, for my job, big shouts to the good folks at Vonage, they allowed me to create stuff with web components. And so, because even before joining Vonage, I was big into web components. And so when they asked, like, hey, is there anything you want to work on? I'm like, hey, web components. And I made my case to like, hey, using these custom elements will make things so much easier and more straightforward for people who want to use our APIs and like SDKs. So I primarily work on the client SDK. So if you want to use our stuff in the front end, the SDK makes it a little bit more straightforward. So no, you don't have to worry about making calls and stuff. Cool. I was like, well, what if we could abstract that one even more to where you just put in these custom elements, you say what like an identifier is, and it just automatically works. You don't have to worry about setting up event listeners, worrying about like different, so setting up event listeners, sending out events, all that stuff. Like it does everything for you. And all you have to do is just put a simple HTML element tag and some JavaScript so that it recognizes it. But other than that, you don't have to worry about anything else. We handle all the other stuff as far as elements. So I created a set of web components, UI elements, and it was just kind of like a proof of concept, just kind of throw it out there, see what people thought about it. I honestly didn't think anybody would use it. I just thought it was just me doing it. But apparently people used it and they wanted to be able to customize and style it, because I'm not the greatest styler. Everything was like the vanilla styling of every element. So like the input and the buttons were just vanilla. So went back and I was like, oh, let me see how I can style these. And first I was thinking, all right, CSS variables. And I was like, oh man, I got to go and figure out all the different parts that could be styled and make CSS variables for them. I was like, oh, I was kind of dreading that. So I did more research and came across parts. So I'm not sure how long, it's pretty recent, maybe within a couple of years. Cause I saw some articles about it and they're like, well, it could still change. And that was like 2 years ago. And so, but now it's in Mozilla Developer Network's MDN. And this is like a place I go to. And so there's, so the compatibility is Chrome, Edge, Firefox, Internet Explorer, which is not really being developed anyway. So, but all the pretty much major browsers it's good for. So yeah, so all the so now what part is, it allows you to be able to name certain sections of your web component and give them like a name, and then the person using your web component can just use regular CSS to stylize whatever that thing has. Like if it's an input, then you're able to stylize just as if it's a regular input. So there's no worrying about having to set variables to I want the border radius to be this. So I would need whatever custom variable border radius, and then have the user, you just stylize it as if it's a regular input. So for example, they have this thing here. So it's like a pseudo element. So have you ever seen like the focus and hidden and all that stuff? So it's kind of like similar to that. And so you have your custom element, the name, and then 2 colons, and then part, and then whatever you named that part of your web component. So like it says, styles to apply to the foo part. So so this is what it looks like. And so yeah, so it's just regular CSS. That's how you would style it. It's kind of amazing. So here's the HTML of it. So here is the tabbed custom element. So that's the web component or custom element there, right? And this is just the code to create that custom element web component. Cool. Now the CSS of it here. So as you see here are the parts of it. So there's a tab 1, tab 2, tab 3. And so the part, they all have part tab, but this one is also added on is active. All right. So now here it is. So here's the name of the element here, the 2 colons, part, and the name of the part that they set here, tab, right? And so you can see here they apply just regular CSS. Whereas before with CSS variables, you'd have to set the variables and then set them in here, which would be, so here you have to set the color, border bottom. Well, what if the person wanted border top? So you'd have to have all these different variables. Cool. So then here again, you can set the hover, the active, so hover and active, and then the focus. And then you can see right here, they have this active part where they're changing the color and the border color. And then the JavaScript to kind of make the actual web component work. So you just, you select it, and then you extend the HTML element, and then you attach the shadow DOM and all that stuff. So this makes the web component work. And I'm probably going to go over it, which I knew, but all right, this thing is so awesome. So as you can see here, this tab is active, and it has the actual active class that from the part. And so you can see is it just works, which is kind of cool. So they're able to create and customize and stylize that web component with just CSS instead of having to worry about, well, what are the CSS variables and all these things and trying to remember. Just regular CSS, which is great. So basic CSS. I mean, CSS variables are regular CSS, but more basic is just doing this, and it opens up all sorts of opportunities for people to be able to customize what they want. So with all that said, let's take a look at a couple of the ones I've been working on. All right, so here is in order to include this WP this web component, all you would do is just put VC -text -input and some JavaScript, like I said, so that the browser would recognize that it's a custom element, and it will just show up. And here it is. Blah, blah, blah. All right. So now this is out of the box styling. I think it looks all right. I mean, again, I'm not a great stylist or anything, but this is out of the box. Now, let's say if you wanted to change the styling. So let's take a look at the code real quick. So this is what it looks like out of the box. Here is the actual code for it. Now, as you can see, I'm still using some custom CSS variable stuff, but if you wanted to, you don't really need to. So this is made up of an input and a button, correct? So, all right, so here is the part that renders. So as you can see here on the input, I just called the part input. And then for the button, I just called it button. Great. So now when I go to, so let me show you. So that's what it looks like out of the box. Let me show you with some custom styling. I think, oh, the wrong button. Save. And you see how it looks so much more different than before? So yeah, so let me see CSS. So now instead of having to worry about, oh, I need a CSS variable for the border radius, background color, the color of the text, all that stuff is just by using parts and the name of the parts, I can just use basic CSS to style it, which is kind of cool, I think. And so let's say, so as you can see here, I changed the color. I made the border green. Let's say if I want to make the background of the button to be transparent. So then just background, color, transparent. Save that, and there we go. So you're giving so you're taking your web component and letting the user have like complete control of the styling so that it fits into their application more. So it's more seamless. And so I think this is kind of amazing. So that's pretty cool. So yeah, so you can see, you can be able to create it. Now, there's a couple of things that I came across that I wasn't able to figure out. So, but here's another example. We'll talk about this. So this is the messages. So this is how it looks normally, right? Now, let's say you want to stylize it some. And this one, I stylize the junk out of it. So here. Take the styling off. Save that. Look at that. That's amazing. Stuff got shifted in different places. And I don't know. I found that super cool. And it's just CSS to do it. So it's amazing. All right. So now one of the things I found that was kind of weird. So if you want to get a list of the members in your conversation, you could just put VC members and it'll have it there and it'll update as people come in and leave. So you don't have to worry about all that stuff. You just put that and you're good to go. Put in your conversation ID, it knows what to do with the rest of it. So, but the thing was, I was like, well, it'd be cool if we could have like a striped list of members. So like the odd members, so like Alice and Carl would have maybe like a background that's different from Bob. So it'd be kind of easier to differentiate everybody or what have you, right? And so I thought I could do and set the nth child, because that's how you would normally do it. You do like nth child odd, and then you'd set the styles and things. So I thought I could do that by just putting like, you know, nth, but oh yeah, so like nth child and then odd. But that didn't work for me. I tried all sorts of different things. Tried searching the internet for it, couldn't find anything about it. So my last resort was going to Twitter and being like, hey, anybody know how to do this? And then luckily, shout out to some folks who did some retweets and things. Luckily, the person who wrote the spec basically told me like, nah, you can't do it. Like, all right, cool. So it wasn't just my lack of CSS knowledge. So, but you just can't do it. So to work around that, what I had to do was, again, go back, since it was something so like specific, I didn't feel too bad about creating CSS variables for it because it's like a specific use case. So as you can see here, I have the VC members nth child odd color and the VC members nth child even color. So that way you'd be able to style it the way you wanted if you wanted to have like stripes, right? So this is how it looks out of the box. Now, when you apply your own styling, you can make it look like that if you wanted. So you can see, you can customize however you want it to look. And instead of having to do all the CSS variables for all these different things that I could change that normally come with the element, you can just do it just out of the box without having to set up the CSS variables. So my goal is, I hopefully showed how part is kind of awesome and it can be used to make your life so much easier if you're developing web components and you want people to be able to style it to fit their application as they see fit. So yeah, that's that. And then there's also now a thing. So just how there's like part, there's theme, and there's like exported parts. So exported parts, if you wanted to, if you had like a web component inside of another web component, and then you want to be able to style that outer web component, but then be able to style the stuff on the inner web component, you can have stuff called exported parts, which is a whole nother thing. And then there's themes, like there's theme, how there's just like how there's part, and then you can, I don't even fully understand it yet. Like I just came across that like a couple of days ago, but yeah, so part is kind of awesome. I'm going to use that to style these web components. And if you've ever done anything like this before, please let me know if you've done it any other way, or if you found what works best for you. Have you been using CSS custom variables or custom properties CSS variables? Like, let me know. So again, this is what I know so far about it. This is from what I understand, and hopefully you will let me know if you have anything. So I just thought that was super cool, and so I wanted to kind of share that. So thanks for listening to me ramble about it. And so now these are the type of things that if you find anything fascinating, interesting, like these are like, it's like a lightning talk kind of thing. And so if you have anything similar and you feel cool, that is cool, feel free to sign up for the show and tell and do what we just did here. All right, cool. I blabbed on longer than I wanted to. So at the end, I'll add more time, so you'll get more time back. But let's get y'all back to work. So hopefully you found that cool. Let me know what you think, if you ever used it. If not, if you have any tips for me. If you haven't, and maybe you're using CSS, do you find that this will be easier for you? Let me know. And yeah, I think that's going to be it. I'm going to share my screen so we can get up out of here. And again, thank you all for hanging out. We'll get you back to work. And yeah, we'll be back 15 minutes after the hour. And unless we have any show and tell stuff, we'll go over a producer out of London's website and play some music and stuff. So, all right. So again, thank you all, and share my screen. Be out of here. Thanks again, y'all. All right. Share the audio. Here we go. Share. All right. Thanks, y'all.
But let me start from the heart. I just want to stay. I thank you all for showing love to me. I appreciate this unique opportunity. I'm gonna rock so hard you never stop supporting me. I'm gonna show you how music gives more meaning to life. I thank you all for showing love to me. I appreciate this unique opportunity. I'm gonna rock so hard you never stop supporting me. I'm gonna show you how music gives more meaning to life. But let me start from the heart. I just want to stay. I thank you all for showing love to me.